Today on Locked On Rockies, the Colorado Rockies pitching staff has been abysmal.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the third day of June in the year 2022. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We appreciate that and appreciate you for tuning in. Hey, if you like the show, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can pop into the live chat and get yourself in the live chat and get yourself some questions answered right away as we dive into them here on the show. Today on Locked On Rockies, we are talking about the abysmal Colorado Rockies pitching staff. Enough is enough. We cannot sugarcoat it any longer. This pitching staff is in trouble. The foundation of the Colorado Rockies is great peril. Tremendous peril, one would say. The Rockies' situation in terms of giving up runs is awful. The Rockies have given up double-digit runs in game. Now, let's see. Going back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the last 8 games, the Colorado Rockies have given up double digits in half of them, in 4 games, against teams that were struggling. All of these are teams that the Rockies have struggled. These teams that have now had big offensive breakout performances. The Marlins especially. The Marlins scored 26 runs in 2 games against the Rockies. 26. A team that couldn't hit. A team that couldn't hit at all. But yet here they go. They blow it. I mean, it's broken. It's crazy. There's nothing really else to say. The other than Chad Kuhl, really, and Ryan Feltner's 2 starts. And again, I'm kind of in the camp of Kyle Freeland's. He hasn't missed bats. He's definitely had his struggles, but in terms of when things have gotten bad for Kyle, a lot of stuff has also not been on him. But he's not been right either. Whatever philosophy changed, whatever change with the Rockies pitching staff came this offseason, whatever approach they're taking to trying to get batters out isn't working. In fact, it's incredibly broken. It's the pitch. German Marquez just can't throw some of his pitches. He simply can't. I mean, these pitches are piped right down the middle. These are teams that come in against the Rockies and have just been able to completely refresh their offense. Rockies pitchers overall since May 8th, 6.32 ERA. The team has won 6 games of 22 in that span, and we're getting blown out again last night. Danielle Allentuck. And then she follows that up with, this was actually the Rockies pitchers overall, that's 6.32. The starters ERA is even grimmer, 7.01 since May 8th. 7.01. Unacceptable. If the Rockies pitchers have to make an adjustment, they have to step up. They have to do something because honestly, this team has struggled on offense, but that hasn't necessarily been the case. The Marlins have great pitching. You can't, the Rockies offense only had the one game where they got dominated, but the Rockies scored 20 runs in the 2 games that they won. The 2 games that they won, it was a combined score of 20. But it doesn't matter in that game on Wednesday because the defense combined with poor pitching gave up 12. The Rockies have now given up double-digit runs in back-to-back ball games. Actually, that's not true. They've given up double-digit runs in back-to-back-to-back ball games. 3 games in a row, the Colorado Rockies have given up double-digit runs, whether that's booting the ball, whether it's throwing the ball all over the field, but it starts with the starting pitching. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how you're going to fix it. I don't know what the adjustment needs to be made, but something has to happen. German Marquez, Austin Gomber, and Antonio Senzatella are brutal right now. And Gomber's never going to be able to wash away how he got here. And that's not necessary. Again, it's not his fault. But they need to step up. There's been countless players with the Rockies that are just underperforming, that they can sit there and be confused, but make an adjustment. Herman, stop throwing the pitch that keeps getting crushed. Stop throwing the two-seamer. If it's not working, stop going to it. Shake it off. Do a different pitch. It's hard to make adjustments at the major league level. It's hard to figure things out, but the Rockies are in desperate need of a change in pitching. 3 games. It's Coors Field, sure, but that's home. That's home sweet home. That's why you have confidence in German. That's why you have confidence in Senza, because they're good at Coors Field. They have been, at least. Not this year. Not this year. Let's brighten it up. Yes, I will brighten it up a little bit, but I will not cease on this because it is the absolute worst thing. But there are some things to celebrate, and we will celebrate. We will talk about the good of the past 3 games as well, because the Rockies, like I said, have won. They won the series against the Marlins. It was a tough one. They can still win the series with the Braves. We'll hit with the positive, but we have more to talk about with that too. More ranting to do. But don't rant about not being able to find the best talent for your job. Use LinkedIn. With spring in the air, it's a time of renewal and growth, personally and professionally. As your small business grows, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. You got a LinkedIn. Who doesn't have a LinkedIn these days? You all know LinkedIn is the place to be when you are going for your new job or your next hire. All you got to do, you can add the purple hiring frame to your job on LinkedIn, and that's going to spread the word that you're hiring, and your network's going to be able to help it's going to help your network see you, and the right people are going to find you. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Folks, the big good news. Brendan Rodgers is back. That was a massive 3-run home run game for him to get the Rockies the win in extras. Brendan Rodgers contributing. Brendan Rodgers' hit streak has been the turnaround we all were expecting. Now, if you're in the live chat, I wanted you to acknowledge, I don't know, I don't think if it was, there might have been. I don't know if it was Nick or Eric here that are joining us live. But if you were tuning in and you were saying send B-Rod down, told you it's not what you got to trust him. You got to stick with him. And this is what he does. Now we're seeing that the big missing piece continues not to be there. The Rockies continue to have not been able to play at full health, but Brendan Rodgers, you can see the impact that he has on the lineup. Now that defense needs to get cleaned up, but that's the same thing for everybody on defense right now. But Rodgers and what he's doing, and it is a great one. Nick's saying he said he was going to turn it around in May, play the tapes. You know what, Nick? We will. We'll go back. I can't promise you. I'm not actually. Yeah. I don't think it was either one of you guys. I think it was some of our other loyal listeners, but it has been a long month. But the best storyline of this month has been Brendan Rodgers. Rockies baseball has been tough, but the return of Brendan Rodgers is at least a beacon of hope that if this team can get healthy in June, that there is a possibility. You have to win this series with the Braves, and then you got to survive this divisional road trip. I mean, every division game is going to be important because that's going to determine wild card positioning. But Brendan Rodgers being back and contributing on offense is a massive, massive, massive success for the Colorado Rockies. Or it's a massive win, I should say, for the Colorado Rockies. His return to what he can do on offense is huge. Again, you're not expecting him to hit 3 home run games and launch the ball out of the yard. You want him to bat 280, 270, 300 in that range with a nice OPS to get with getting on base. He's an electric threat. He's got the speed and he's dynamic. And then the other big bright storyline, at least especially of late, the 1-2 punch of Connor Joe and Charlie Blackmon has really been working out. Charlie Blackmon has actually been swinging the bat pretty darn well lately, getting into his role as what he was supposed to be this entire season, which was the DH. That's what he was supposed. I mean, again, he's DHing again, and he goes out there and has a 4-hit ball game followed up by Connor Joe with the 2 hits. We need, I mean, the big, CJ Cron driving in runs yesterday, doing what he does, sure. But a couple of situations where Cron struck out as well. Rodgers only getting the 1 hit, but keeping the streak alive. But the RBI just fell off after going from Rodgers down. No RBIs from Rodgers, McMahon, Richick, or Iglesias in that one. Garrett Hampson had the nice home run there, and a tough day at the dish for Servin there. But it doesn't matter. The Rockies got themselves back into this ball game after things got tough for them. The Rockies get down to 9-1 at one point, but they're able to come back and get it to 9-4. But then the Braves go and hang a 3 spot and then another run. You're just not going to be able to come back from that. 9 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts on 10 hits from Austin Gomber is simply unacceptable. Doesn't matter the bright spots of your offense when they get overshadowed by this pitching staff. Nick, yes, Brendan Rodgers has been a top prospect for a long time. Was one of the top of the talks of the organization. He was the guy to come up, and he was an example of a lot of, there was like service time stuff, there was health stuff, there was all sorts of issues. It was essentially that I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong on this as well, but Rodgers' rise and when he was getting major league ready was coming around when DJ might be moving on, and I think he started coming up or was ready to come up right after DJ left. But again, I might be wrong about that on that timeline, but it's roughly around there because Rodgers still hasn't even been the everyday second baseman for. It's not even been 3 full years he was still suffering at playing time behind some people. Chris Owings was getting more playing time than him at some point there a couple of years ago. So Rodgers finally becoming the everyday starting second baseman is actually relatively new, as he was a top prospect. So my timeline with DJ, not right there. I think I was a little too early on that one, but his history is one of the he was one of the top prospects and one of the players I am excited about. Nick asks a follow-up question. How do I feel about Servin? Definitely don't think he's better behind the plate as Diaz, but he seems swinging the bat with runners. Yeah, it's that's the thing. Diaz is back to being a liability on offense, and Servin has been good. I think it's tough to turn to the rookie, and I have a ton of confidence in Diaz behind the plate defensively. That is the thing. The big, I think the real thing is the Rockies we're looking for more offense from the position, and they're going with the hot hand there. And with younger pitchers coming up too, with the Rockies potentially leaning on some new arms or calling up people, that Servin has caught more of them as well. That is a benefit for the Rockies in that sense too. I am not necessarily sold on everything Servin does, but I mean, again, Servin has been swinging the bat, scoring RBIs. He's been doing everything right. So there's not anything really not to like at the moment. But if he can contribute the way Diaz contributed on offense last year, then that's great. It'd be great if Diaz could contribute on offense like he did last year in any capacity, but he did start the year slow and then heated up towards the end. So we'll see about that, but I'm not necessarily out on this on Serven, but yeah, interesting. We'll keep diving in. These questions are good because we kind of at least covered some of the main stuff today. But Eric Harper in the live chat says, I don't mean this in a judgy way, but what exactly does Hampson excel at for us? Hampson excels at playing everywhere. Hampson is your utility guy. He can play outfield. He can play second base. He can DH. He can play first base. Hampson's role, and he's done this for a while, is to be the guy that fills in. Hilliard going down with a concussion or at least in concussion protocols, I shouldn't say, because I don't think he necessarily was diagnosed with a concussion, but he was in concussion protocols. But what you want from Hampson is what he's doing, honestly, is filling in positions and having some success at some points. He's not going to blow you away. He's not one of the Rockies players you're going to lean on, but he's a fine enough utility man, a fine enough bench player that can fill in for you. Couple of hits, on this year, and 12 hits and 53 at bats. Again, not necessarily anything blow you away crazy, but still, he's someone who can get on base. He's got some plus speed, and yeah, he'll sometimes throw one out of the yard like he did. I mean, it's he's just a solid utility player. Again, he's not going to blow you away in anything, but at the end of the day, if you need to have someone come in and fill some time, fill a position for you, fill in during an IL stint for a player, Hampson can fill the gap and at least contribute in some ways, and he's not necessarily a liability on defense or anything that way. He's a fine defender. It's just offensively he's not that great, and that's what when it comes down to it. Eric, your question about Sam Hilliard there. Sam Hilliard's fate completely depends on Chris Bryant. I mean, there's not really a place for Hilliard to get consistent playing time when you have Bryant in the lineup, because Daza is going to be in center field, and there's a lot of people that are going to go through there, because where's Grichuk going to get in there? If he's not playing right? You also got Connor Joe in the mix playing a lot of outfield in addition to first base. Hilliard's spot in terms of where he's going to be is non-existent when Chris Bryant is back. But Hilliard will continue to get playing time and will continue to start as long as Chris Bryant is out of the lineup. They just need to have. They got the depth. They need to use it. That's where they're going to be. Folks, let's look ahead here. Let's take one last look around baseball and wrap up this pod and get ready for the weekend. Let's dive into this first, though, because, folks, we are asking for your help. We have an important favor to ask you. We've put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thank you for your help. Today's show is also brought to you by Built Bar. Don't you love a chewy, chocolatey brownie? What about a caramel brownie with caramel swirled on top? So good. What if I told you can have all that chewy chocolate deliciousness plus 17 grams of protein? You're in luck, because caramel brownie bars are available at Built.com. And right now, you got to act fast, because they're a fan favorite. Forget about dessert. These are better than dessert. Plus, the macros are unreal. 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 4 grams of sugar. I'd replace a regular brownie with Built's caramel brownie bar in a heartbeat. The best part, caramel brownie bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, like for real. With Built, you don't have to sacrifice tasty for health. You can have both. You can see the macros for yourself and a whole lot more at Built.com. And when you head to Built.com, you can use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right. Nice. Eric in the chat says, I smashed out that survey last night. Easy peasy. We did get to see, it was cool to see Randall Grichuk go out there and throw some pitches as well, even though it came at the expense of the Colorado Rockies. So what are my overall thoughts? What are my overall the kind of state of the Rockies, will you? It continues to be in dire straits. I mean, the Rockies are playing a Braves team that's underperformed this year. They have an opportunity still to crawl their way back to one game below 500, but it takes a series win, and that takes 3 straight wins. And then, folks, it doesn't get any easier. The Rockies, if the bad baseball stretch continues, the Rockies can find themselves well below 500 as they head on the road to San Francisco and San Diego. That's going to be kind of the ultimate final test, honestly. It's early, but the nail in the coffin could come at the end of that stretch. I don't want to be that negative, but also at the end of the day, at the same time, the season can flip there. The season can flip with the right momentum. The season can change there, but it can change for the better or for the worse. And it's gonna change for the worse if this pitching staff continues at the rate that it's going. They need to miss bats. They need to, obviously, the Rockies are a pitch for a pitch to contact team, but an adjustment needs to be made. Something needs to be switched up, a timing switch, pitch mix up, pitch change, less of a reliance on a pitch. I don't necessarily know how you work on that. Pitching is something I never did. Something that was not my specialty. That's not where they wanted me on the field in my experience. I never worked on the craft of pitching. So I'm not necessarily the most qualified, but these are professionals. These are guys that have had success. There's just something off. There's something that gets in the way of the consistency of these players. And there aren't, you look into the numbers, dive into that. Sure. Yes, absolutely. But at the end of the day, there is something that's just missing from these players that have shown success in these situations in the past, whether it be 1 year older, whether it be just not in the right headspace. Whatever it is, if the Rockies do want to turn this season around, it's going to start with the pitching staff. The offense has scored. They've had some terrible games. They've left a lot of runners on, but the Rockies have scored runs. The Rockies have fought back in games. The Rockies have bounced back. But it's hard when your pitching staff has given up double-digit runs in 3 games in a row. It's got to change tonight. Hopefully it does as the Rockies take on the Braves here tonight. Let's check up the matchup here. The Braves now have won 2 games in a row, looking to win 3 in a row. It should be hopefully a good night for the Rockies. Just because why? Because I said so. That's why. I don't have anything, but it's Chad Kuhl's on the bump. Hopefully the Rockies can keep it cool, but freed for the Braves 5-2. These are 2 pitchers that have been pretty darn good this season. If the Rockies can hopefully take advantage of that, and Kuhl can keep his consistent ways. Hasn't been as strong before, but we will see. Max Fried 5-2, 3.10 ERA, 57 Ks on the year. Those high K numbers are stressful for Rockies fans. But folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be breaking it all down. Go Avs as well. Stay up to date with all things MLB with the Locked On MLB podcast hosted by your guy Sully. And you can stay up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Nuggets podcast. Folks, until next time, thank you to Nick Tulin, I think I said that wrong, and Eric Harper in the chat. I am Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.